This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Our lead story tonight is about the economy. The U.S. economy is still struggling with the lingering effects of the summer's drought, and now a possibly worrisome note on inflation. The Commerce Department today reported that the gross national product grew at an annual rate of 2.6% in the third quarter. That's the slowest since the end of 1986. And a price index tied to the gross national product rose at an annual rate of 5.1%, the sharpest increase in more than 6 years. Both of those figures conflict with Reagan-Bush administration estimates, and that could mean problems for George Bush and for you, the American consumer. White House correspondent Bill Plant reports. Bill?
Dan, the difference between the Reagan administration's economic forecast and the way the economy is really performing seems once again to be signaling trouble ahead. The so-called rosy scenario, predicting lower interest rates and inflation and higher growth than eventually occur, has been a regular feature of the Reagan years. And now many economists think that George Bush's own rosy view is bumping up against economic reality.
It's going to be very difficult for the new president to take control of the economy. I think it's more likely that the economy is going to control him. Most particularly, we'll probably see, as we look ahead to next year, a lower dollar. We'll see higher interest rates, and we'll see a weaker stock market.
Yesterday's increase in the prime rate means that since the beginning of 1987, the prime is up 3 points. Some think it could go higher before year's end. The administration predicts a 1989 growth rate of 3.5%, but congressional sources and most private economists think growth will be a full point lower. That combination of higher interest rates and lower growth could add as much as $20 billion to next year's deficit, making it that much more difficult to cut. On Capitol Hill today, the president-elect and his budget director promised to begin informal discussions with Congress on the deficit even before the inauguration. But the budget balancing solution Mr. Bush promoted during the campaign, his flexible freeze, only works if there is high growth, low inflation, and low interest rates.
Well, I think they're being terribly optimistic. Because one of the major points was George Bush was anticipating a 2% decrease in interest rates. That was going to be his dividend to help make the budget targets. But instead, interest rates have gone up, and now you've seen the prime increase again.
So now what? The budget which President Reagan must send to Congress in January will make cuts based on the official optimistic numbers. George Bush today would not say whether he'll send up his own budget. Either way is politically risky. Stay tuned. Dan?
Bill Plant, thanks. Democrats in the U.S. Senate chose George Mitchell of Maine today to be the new Senate Majority Leader. Mitchell not only has a lot to say now about the Democratic agenda, he has a lot of power over what happens in Congress to incoming President George Bush's agenda, the economy, defense, the environment, and more. CBS News Capitol Hill correspondent Phil Jones reports on the Senate's new Maine man in charge.
In the interest of the people of the United States.
The gavel of top Senate Democratic leadership was passed to a new generation today. 55-year-old George J. Mitchell, son of a janitor, a man who worked his way through law school to become a federal judge and senator from Maine, was elected Democratic leader.
Well, I'm grateful for the result.
On the first secret ballot, Mitchell was 1 vote short of the 28 he needed to win. But his opponents, Johnston of Louisiana and Inouye of Hawaii, trailing far behind, pulled out and urged Democrats to elect Mitchell by acclamation. Mitchell has been in the Senate only 8 years, but he's had high visibility. He was praised for his tough questioning in the Iran-Contra hearings, and it was Mitchell who was picked by the Democrats to rebut President Reagan's speech to the nation at the end of the hearings.
A great theologian once said, "There's just enough bad in human beings to make democracy necessary, and there's just enough good in them to make it possible." The president personally approved, in writing, the sale of weapons to Iran. That was a mistake that contradicted our publicly stated policy.
In a phone call today with another man with Maine connections, Mitchell was extending his hand of bipartisanship to another George Bush.
I want very much to work with you. We've got serious problems and challenges, and we want to deal with them in cooperation with you.
But at a news conference, Mitchell appeared to be sending a subtle signal to the new president about the Democratic agenda.
We were heartened by President-elect Bush's statements in the campaign about his concern about the environment, his concern about health care, his concern about daycare,
many other issues, and we look forward to working with him on those and others.
Mitchell will have the power to schedule legislation, and without a Democrat in the White House, Mitchell and House Speaker Jim Wright become the de facto leaders of the Democratic Party. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Important pretrial rulings today by the judge presiding over the weapons for Iran, what happened to the money case against Oliver North. Judge Gerhard Gesell refused to dismiss the main charges against North, charges of conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government, theft of U.S. government property, and charges of lying to Congress under oath. The judge did dismiss one count of wire fraud, saying it would likely confuse the jury. A Supreme Court ruling today concerning state-of-the-art testing of evidence, state of confusion mistakes made by police, and the constitutional rights of citizens suspected of crimes. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver reports on the ruling and its impact.
The U.S. Supreme Court today said that police do not violate rights of the accused when they fail to perform sophisticated laboratory tests on evidence or even accidentally destroy the evidence. The decision came in a case where Arizona police did not properly refrigerate clothing worn by a 10-year-old rape victim and thus could not use a newly developed semen analysis test that would have positively identified the assailant. The Arizona Appeals Court said that violated the due process rights of defendant Larry Youngblood and freed him. But today the U.S. Supreme Court reinstated his conviction. The court said that good eyewitness evidence in criminal cases can sometimes be enough, pointing out that observation by cops can lead to conviction of drunk drivers, even where no breathalyzer is used. Chief Justice William Rehnquist said that even if tests might prove the accused is innocent, the police do not have a constitutional duty to perform any particular scientific tests.
It's going to have effect in almost every kind of crime where trace evidence is important. It can have effects in burglary cases. It's going to have effect in auto theft cases. It's going to have an effect in almost in murder cases.
3 justices attacked the majority decision, claiming the Constitution requires that criminal defendants be provided with a fair trial, not merely a good faith try at a fair trial.
If the police just choose to turn a blind eye to the evidence and make no effort to gather it at the crime scene where they monopolize control of the evidence, then we may never even know that it existed.
The Supreme Court has now said that proof of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt does not have to include the most up-to-date analysis that science has to offer. Rita Braver, CBS News at the Supreme Court.
And still to come on the CBS Evening News. Juan Vasquez on a twin cop killing that has rocked the Florida prison system. And Alan Pizzi on the Sicilian Mafia's new housewife-heroine connection.
It's all about safety out here. Testing the features we build in to keep drivers out of trouble. High-speed handling, maneuverability, anti-lock braking means a lot out on the road. After all, somebody's family is going to be driving this car, maybe even mine.
GM cars have been rated best American-built cars by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety for 11 years in a row.
The Christmas cards of Hallmark. Traditional cards. And religious cards. Simple cards. Fancy cards. Even funny cards. Cards that say things just the way you want to say them. Cards that show how much you really care about your family and your friends. The most ways and the very best ways to express your feelings at Christmas. Only at Hallmark, where there's more to Christmas than ever before.
In test after test, Scotch brand magic tape is as easy to dispense as it is to use. Scotch brand magic tape. Stick with the one you know.
Mikhail Gorbachev opened a special session of the Supreme Soviet today, facing growing ethnic violence in the South and reborn nationalism in the Baltic region, states there. Gorbachev called for a new system of what he called socialist checks and balances and promised something for everybody. But as our Moscow correspondent Barry Peterson reports, The bottom line was the familiar hard line.
On a bitterly cold day in Moscow, delegates to the Soviet Union's highest legislative body hurried inside the Kremlin to hear Mikhail Gorbachev draw the line on this nation's growing independence movement. Estonia, the most radical of the Baltic states, is claiming it can pick and choose which Soviet laws it will obey. That, says Gorbachev, is going too far. He offered to take a fresh look at the power of the 15 Soviet republics, but to those demanding independence, Gorbachev underlined the position: Moscow stays in command. But he was ready to be a lot harsher. In an extraordinary public relations gaffe, the official news agency TASS transmitted a draft of Gorbachev's speech angrily deploring Estonia. The actual speech contained no such language.
I think Mr. Gorbachev is first and foremost a politician and not a soldier, and therefore his views of what is required in any particular situation is what will actually work.
Gorbachev also talked about ethnic unrest, the battle between Christian Armenians and Muslims in Azerbaijan that has claimed dozens of lives. Gorbachev today renewed his pledge to convene a special meeting next year to discuss the issue. And in another area, Gorbachev responded to critics who say he is becoming too powerful. He suggested the Supreme Soviet be given the power to veto the decisions he makes as president of that body. It was a shrewd political move, since the Supreme Soviet already has that sort of right and has never exercised it. And besides, Gorbachev's real authority comes from being the General Secretary of the Communist Party. And there was no offer today to diminish the almost total power over this country that job brings. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Moscow.
In Philadelphia, a federal grand jury indicted General Electric today 321 counts of defrauding the U.S. Army of more than $10 million on a computer contract. GE tonight called the charges, and I quote, unfair and overreaching, based on what it called, again quote, the acts of two employees at a small subsidiary. More tonight about accusations by former Rockwell International quality control inspectors, charges by some that they were pressured by the company to approve defective parts for the U.S. B-1 bomber, our top-of-the-line warplane costing $250 million a copy. CBS News Defense Department correspondent David Martin reports on the charges that it wasn't money well spent.
The Air Force said today it is investigating charges that Rockwell, the maker of the B-1, cut corners in order to meet scheduled deliveries of the controversial bomber. The charges were made by former Rockwell employees who talked to CBS station WBNS in Columbus, Ohio, after a B-1 crashed earlier this month, the third one lost during routine training. The former employees think there could be some connection between the crashes and the shortcuts.
How many corners do you cut short before it catches up with you?
Green, a former quality control inspector, says he would reject parts only to have them show up again.
60 to 90 days later, I saw the same lot number that was to be scrapped coming through inspection again that had already been through the entire production sequences.
On some critical parts where a computer was used to check for defects, another former employee says the computer program was altered.
More than one occasion when the program found defects on the parts, they were told to delete that out of their program and not inspect that.
Still another former employee, this one demanding anonymity, says parts sometimes didn't meet Air Force specifications by relatively large margins for a supersonic aircraft.
A quarter of an inch here and a quarter inch there, just they add up.
Rockwell, which delivered all 100 B-1s ahead of schedule, today issued a statement saying it investigated similar allegations 3 years ago and concluded that no defective parts had been delivered to the Air Force.
Despite the 3 crashes, the Air Force says the B-1 has a better safety record than any other long-range bomber. But the fact remains that if defective parts were indeed installed on the airplane, taxpayers are not getting their money's worth. David Martin, CBS News, The Pentagon.
The safety of the flying public, nuclear power plant safety, and the purity of the meat you eat figure in 3 other warning signs of the times today. The Federal Aviation Administration today proposed modifying the takeoff alarm systems on virtually all U.S. passenger jetliners, more than 3,700 planes. The changes are designed to ensure the emergency alarms warn the cockpit crew if the plane's flaps and other gear aren't in proper takeoff position. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission confirmed today the nation's 110 nuclear plants are under orders to test for possibly counterfeit and/or faulty circuit breakers in safety systems. Operators of 2 California nuclear power plants have already found suspect circuit breakers in their stockpiles. And a report today of possible big trouble in the federal inspection system aimed at keeping the nation's meat supply free of dangerous chemicals. The Des Moines Register published findings by Agriculture Department investigators who conclude that cheating is easy, that action is seldom taken even when tainted meat is found.
Everyone knows Dristan nasal spray starts to work fast, but just how fast?
Faster than Dolly can pick up a $5 tip.
Faster than a politician can shake hands.
Now, Dristan nasal spray has a new spray pump. Dristan works fast to relieve nasal congestion, stuffiness, even sinus pressure. So, if you want relief...
Faster than a frog on a hot rock.
Try regular or long-lasting Dristan nasal spray. It's faster than...
Want to take better pictures? Get the new Canon EOS 750, the only autofocus SLR with a flash like this and a system with computers and motors in every lens. Here, try it. Try the zoom. Easy, right? Well, that's EOS.
New Canon EOS 750. Photography, pure and simple. Buy EOS today with no money down, low monthly payments at participating Canon dealers.
With arthritis, there's pain. And there's pain. For relief, there's aspirin. And there's aspirin. Anacin. Anacin's aspirin formula has more medicine than regular aspirin.
That's not relief. That's relief.
Anacin.
Looking for whole wheat total?
Or shredded wheat.
You'll need 12 boxes to equal the vitamin and mineral nutrition in just one box of Total. No other cereal has more.
I think I'll have Total, sweetheart. Total.
If it's whole wheat Total, it's Total Nutrition.
2 slain policemen. Their alleged killer, a violent career criminal with a record more than 20 pages long. What was he doing on the street? Juan Vasquez tells us.
Charles Street, out of prison only 10 days, but already back in trouble. Officers Richard Bowles and David Strakowski answered a call to aid a man screaming for help. Police say the man was Street, who went berserk when they arrived and killed both officers with their own guns. Street had served little more than half of a 15-year prison sentence for attempted murder when the state of Florida let him go.
Really, to serve 8 years on I think it was 15 years, is a long time in this day and time. A lot of times you get that kind of a sentence and you don't even serve 3 years.
Street's police rap sheet goes back 16 years. Assault on a police officer, resisting arrest, attempted murder, burglary, grand larceny.
They're being released by the state because the state is under a federal court order on prison overcrowding. And that's where the system is breaking down.
36 states are under a federal court order to avoid prison overcrowding.
You just can't pass tough laws unless you want to build prisons.
But Florida has added nearly 10,000 more prison beds in the last 2 years, and it's not enough.
But I'm sure they let him out to let somebody else in that's just as violent, so I can't blame the jails.
Bowles is survived by a wife and 2 children. Strakowski by a 2-year-old son and a pregnant wife. Charles Street was denied bond today and is back in jail, this time facing the death sentence. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Miami.
Kansas City authorities suspect arson triggered 2 massive explosions which killed 6 firefighters today at a highway construction site. The firefighters were killed early this morning when fire set off thousands of pounds of ammonium nitrate, which is used to blast rock. So powerful were the explosions that they left one fire truck a charred wreck and left absolutely no trace of another truck. They also shattered windows 10 miles away.
That'll be a charge.
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
Don't forget, Santa.
'Tis the season to be choosy.
La, 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 la.
That's it. So choose the card that actually pays you cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
That's a great idea. You sure know how to pick them.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
Heartburn flaring up?
It never seems to stop.
How long have you been taking antacids?
Seems like forever.
Have you told the doctor?
Won't he just tell me to take these?
Not necessarily. Nowadays, doctors can diagnose and treat your heartburn and indigestion.
Now that's worth a visit to the doctor.
If you've been suffering from persistent heartburn, indigestion, or stomach pain, this could be a serious problem. Make an appointment to see your doctor now. Brought to you by Glaxo Pharmaceuticals.
The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade, or your money back. The first screen shaves incredibly close, the second even closer. The Remington microscreen shaves as close as a blade, or your money back.
And the Lady Remington rechargeable, the perfect gift.
The product. The proving grounds. The results. STP gas treatment is the edge.
Senior officials at the United Nations said tonight that next month's Assembly debate on Palestinian affairs likely will be transferred to Geneva. A speaker will be PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat, denied a U.S. visa to address the Assembly in its New York home. Even as the second South African town today banned blacks from all public facilities, a key national government advisory body dealt apartheid a defeat. It rejected legislation that would have evicted thousands of blacks now living in officially white areas. South African blacks have failed so far to win political power, but buying power is a different matter, as we hear now from Martha Teichner.
In South Africa, where rich whites consider owning just one racehorse a status symbol, Richard Maponya owns 55. Remarkable considering the only job in racing a black man is allowed to hold is called stable boy. A multimillionaire, Maponya is the symbol of a South Africa where blacks are beginning to flex their economic muscle. Today, he lives in Johannesburg's most exclusive white suburb. He owns 2 big discount stores, a soft drink plant, and Soweto's biggest car dealership. But 25 years ago, when Richard Maponya started out, it was illegal for blacks to go into any of the businesses that have made him rich.
The sky is the limit, because certain laws which have been really denying us the right of getting into meaningful type of businesses are being removed now.
The biggest success story in this changing economic picture, the Black Taxi Association. Just 9 years old, it represents 75,000 taxis.
Black spending power is enormous, and any businessman who doesn't think in terms of that consumer, frankly, isn't being a businessman.
But big white companies like Pick n Pay, South Africa's largest supermarket chain, have discovered they can't just cash in. Black spending power has grown nearly 25% in the last 4 years, but thanks largely to relentless wage pressure from black trade unions. Today, South African blacks are not interested in token participation in business any more than they are in politics. They want control. ShareWorld, a $14 million amusement park for blacks on the edge of Soweto. It opened just in time for the Christmas holidays. Its white developers couldn't get any bank to loan them money to get the project off the ground until they found a black partner and agreed to sell 60% of their stock to black investors.
For far too long, it's been white business coming in and sucking whatever juice there is and disappearing. So what they are asking for is now give us a fair deal.
Richard Maponya and South Africa's handful of other black millionaires point to themselves as proof that there has been real change in the economic climate for blacks. But they are the first to recognize that equality is still a long way off. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Johannesburg.
The traffic in Paris was especially heavy today. Streets were filled with hundreds of army trucks sent in to help stranded commuters cope with the spreading bus and rail strike. The government accused the communist-led strikers of waging union guerrilla warfare.
Shoot some slices, salad shooter. Shoot some shreds, salad shooter. Shoot some salad, shoot it fast, shoot it pretty, pretty salad shooter.
Presto Salad Shooter, slicer, shredder. Easier than a food processor. Just point and shoot slices right onto a salad. Shoot shreds right onto a pizza. Top a dessert, go a little nutty. Clean up with a wipe and a rinse, small enough to store anywhere.
Shoot some salad, shoot it fast, shoot it pretty, pretty salad shooter.
From Presto.
If you love lots of shrimp, Red Lobster is going to make you very happy.
Introducing the Shrimp Spectacular Platter, just $7.95. 4 ways to love shrimp, all on one plate. Crispy fried, spicy Cajun popcorn, zesty lemon pepper, and announcing our delicious new grilled shrimp. That's our Shrimp Spectacular Platter, just $7.95. Kid shrimp, $1.95. It's spectacular, now at Red Lobster. And for the holidays, call for party platters to go, ready in just 1 hour.
It takes time to get your gal to see the light. It takes time. It isn't always love at sight. From the first little glance till she's ready for romance. Remember, little man, it takes time. It takes time to make the coffee percolate. It takes time to get your gal to set the date. From the first moonlit walk till you get the baby talk.
The Elegance Collection from Citizen.
Yeah.
It may not look it, but the Sicilian town of Torretta is a thriving crossroads of international commerce. Drugs. It's a town where the only career most anybody wants is with the mafia. Alan Pizzi reports.
Vincenza Calli can't go shopping for her 8 children anymore. She's serving 10 years house arrest for her part in a drug smuggling ring Italian police dubbed the Housewife Connection. Calli was caught with 5 pounds of heroin in her girdle, bound for New York. She said she did it because her family had 15 years of debt. The children needed food, shoes, clothes. Calli and many other housewife couriers were trained in the Sicilian village of Torretta. It's a place where the mafia is as much a part of the fabric of society as the church. Young children, grandmothers, anyone can work for the mafia. It's a town where the government and outsiders are not to be trusted.
I don't know. What should I know? I don't know. I don't want to bother anybody's business. I only care about mine.
Villagers complain there are few jobs. The government can't seem to help, and the only effective institution here is the mafia.
The police say the town's simple face is just a mask, that inside many of these houses are modern lifestyles enriched with luxuries like marble baths and all the toys of the video age, all bought with drug money.
Torretta is a way station for the heroin trade from Southwest Asia, and now police fear cocaine from South America to Europe.
It's dealing with products. It's heroin for cocaine and vice versa. It could be watches for cigarettes. The smuggling routes are there. They've been established for years.
A police crackdown and a so-called maxi trial of mafia men was answered with a wave of revenge killings that left more than a dozen bodies strewn across the Sicilian capital. In an unprecedented display of contempt for the government, the mafia even killed a judge. Such brazen disregard for legal and moral niceties characterizes every aspect of Sicily's mafia-infested society. All Vincenza Calli regrets is the inconvenience of house arrest, and police concede there are plenty of recruits to replace her in the housewife heroin connection. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Torretta, Sicily.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather, I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan. What to do now to lower your tax bill in April?
Also, Billie Jean King and Peter, Paul, and Mary. Tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.
I'm Chris Clark. Coming up next on Eyewitness News, Mayor Boner strikes a deal on a place to dump Metro's trash. We'll hear about it in a live report from the mayor's office. It seems a policeman's work is never done, at least in Metro, and some officers have the money to prove it. And the state wants to make an example out of the doctor accused of overprescribing addictive drugs. We'll have those stories, plus the foiled robbery attempt that would make Crocodile Dundee proud. Next on Eyewitness News.
On the next USA Today, RU-486, the